Not sure if you're aware of this, but there are quite a few tutorials here on YouTube, including quite a number of them on this very channel. Today, I'd like to talk about why they're all absolutely useless. About 4 or 5 years ago, I decided that if I was going to call myself an independent artist, I was going to have to start acting like one and, build my own audience somehow. I was really hoping that someone would come along and do that for me, but it didn't work out that way. I chose Instagram at the time, which was kind of a different platform than it is today, where you could actually get organic reach. Was really enjoying experimenting with hardware synths at the time, so I decided I would just make one hardware synth improvisation per day, just kind of noodling around, playing with synths, and just post it every single day for a year and just see what would happen. And it kind of worked. Within a year's time, my following had grown by about 5 times what it was, and I was reaching more people than I ever had before. But there was a side effect to this consistency that was incredibly valuable, much more valuable than Instagram followers, which it turns out are not all that valuable. By using my creative muscles every day, I made a lot more music that I really liked than I ever had in any year previous to that one. And this may seem incredibly obvious for some of you. I'm sure it does, and I'm sure I'm the idiot, as usual. But it turned out that the best thing that I could do was simply to make more, to create more music. The direct result of that year of experimentation was my album Signals, in which I just chose some of my favorites from that year and put them together in a way that I thought made sense. It wasn't this preconceived, meticulously constructed set of songs or pieces. It was a collection of what I felt were some of my best ideas from a much, much larger pool of ideas. When the first lockdown happened, I took the same approach with my album Somewhat the Same. I packed up a bunch of my stuff, took it to an empty church, and just recorded a lot of stuff. And then I chose my favorite stuff, and that's the stuff that made it into the album. And not all of the music that I made over this year of experimentation or this time during lockdown was all that good, but I made a lot more that I actually really did like just through the law of averages. I was just making a lot more stuff, so I was failing a lot more, but also succeeding a lot more. I still very much believe in quality over quantity, but it turns out I think the highest quality of work comes through quantity, paired with the ability to recognize your best work. On this channel, we talk a lot about the craft of composition, and I know I'm a big proponent of really working things out and crafting ideas, but it occurred to me that what I don't want to become is someone who makes you fearful of getting started. I don't want to create additional anxiety for you, a creator who just wants to make stuff that you enjoy making. Like, we all come to YouTube looking for tutorials and for the next quick tip that's going to cause our big breakthrough, and it really just doesn't work that way, especially if we're not actually doing the thing that we're looking for tactics on how to do. Let's take this very YouTube channel as an example. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the best ways to edit videos so that people would stay on the video. I spent time trying to figure out the best way to do titles and thumbnails to get people to click on them in the first place. And you do have to think about those things if you're going to be on YouTube and expect to grow here. That's true. But there was one major problem. I wasn't even making videos yet. And once I actually got started making the videos and realized what a challenge it could be, the actual problems started to reveal themselves. The more important questions to focus on were, how do I pick topics that people actually care about watching in the first place? And how do I tell a story around those topics in a way that people will be interested in staying on the video? Before you actually start doing a thing, you don't even realize what questions to ask, much less the answers to those questions. But they reveal themselves over time as you actually start doing the thing. And that's why action beats learning a bunch of tactics every single time. You can figure out the specifics as the more specific questions are revealed. Michael Jordan said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost over 300 games. 26 times I was trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. I've failed over and over, and that's why I succeed." And I took that personally. If you've ever learned an instrument or learned to play a sport, you know that the most important ingredient, the most important thing that's going to help you get better is repetition. It's this circular process of trying, failing, discovering what needs to be worked on, trying again, failing, discovering another thing that needs to be worked on, and we just repeat that process over and over until we understand what it takes to continue to repeat that process. Like, staring at a blank DAW never gets fun. It's always kind of a daunting process, but I think the more times that I've done it, the more I understand that that is just the first step. That is just how it feels at the beginning of a project. It's normal, and I know how to work through it. So the sooner and the more often you fail, the faster you learn. And while that's a very simple concept, it's a very difficult concept when it comes to actually executing on that. Because if you're anything like me, you don't like being bad at things. I think that's true for most of us. Today we feel like we have to be constantly publishing things to build an audience, and that's absolutely true. There's no getting around that. And I've talked about the problems with the current models and algorithmically led platforms in other videos, so I won't get into that today. But it is the reality that we're living in as artists. Why don't we start thinking of the social platforms as practice? We can use them to push us to create more and create more consistently so that we build those creative muscles. The more reps we get, the more practice we have, the more skill we will develop at any craft. Don't even worry about the followers. As a byproduct, we will have people who decide they want to come along and are interested in what we're doing as we get better at it. Then there will come a point where we're ready to officially release something, and we can save our best work for that. There will come a time when you've been consistently getting on base and you feel like it's time to take that home run swing. And I think you kind of learn to recognize those moments when they happen, but it comes after you've put in the reps. So I think the most effective path is to do stuff, do a lot of stuff. Then you can start to research and learn about more specific problems that you have that arise from you doing stuff. If you do happen to need some help getting started, I do have an ebook that has some of my absolute favorite compositional concepts that have really helped me the most over the years. That's absolutely free, and it's going to be linked below. But again, most importantly, give yourself an assignment, see it through to the end, do that over and over, because that's the most important concept of all, I think: experience.